Hello, chosen ones. You didn't just survive. You unknowingly passed a divine test that most never recognize. The challenges, delays, and emotional battles you faced weren't random. They were part of a sacred design meant to awaken your true power. What felt like setbacks were actually spiritual initiations. Each silent struggle shaped you, strengthened you, and revealed the depth of your soul. You've crossed a hidden threshold. Now the blessings are gathering. You're not the same person anymore. Your energy has shifted. Your frequency has elevated. The illusions have fallen, and your clarity is your crown. This is more than encouragement. It's confirmation. You are chosen. You were never meant to break, but to rise. Doors are opening, your purpose is calling, and the universe is responding to your alignment. Drop 77 in the comments if your soul resonates. Like, share, and subscribe to help awaken others. Your next chapter has already begun, and it's filled with miracles. The first ripples of your spiritual awakening stirred in moments of inner unrest. Those sleepless hours when your heart wrestled with questions that felt too heavy to answer. You may have thought you were merely trudging through a difficult phase, but a deeper truth was unfolding. You stood before an invisible council, a sacred tribunal of your soul, quietly assessing your inner strength. This wasn't a trial marked by grand gestures. It was a series of intimate, unseen battles, moments when your intuition nudged you to trust your path, even as fear loomed large. Every decision to face doubt head-on, to choose courage over retreat, or to hold fast to your values in the face of uncertainty, wove the tapestry of your divine purpose, guiding you toward profound personal growth. The world around you became a living classroom for this spiritual test. Family, friends, colleagues, even strangers, unknowingly shaped your journey. Their words, sometimes sharp with skepticism, sometimes heavy with indifference, served as mirrors, reflecting the fears you carried within. A loved one's doubt tested your resilience. A missed opportunity challenged your patience. A harsh silence pushed you to listen to your inner voice. Each moment posed a question. Will you let fear dim your light, or will you rise with integrity? In the quiet solitude of those trials, when no one cheered your efforts, you found your strength. By honoring your truth, by persisting through loneliness and rejection, you passed each sacred milestone. These weren't mere obstacles. They were the universe's way of tempering you for a higher calling. It felt daunting, didn't it? The endless delays, the sting of being misunderstood, the struggle to maintain inner peace. They seemed like walls blocking your path, but they were chisels, carving your spiritual resilience into something unshakable. With each unanswered prayer, with each season of silence, the divine was shaping your capacity to endure without bitterness, to hope without visible reason, to trust without evidence. Through these silent struggles, you began to see with new clarity. The doubters, who dismissed your dreams as impractical, were merely voicing their own fears, not your reality. You stopped molding yourself to their expectations. You embraced faith, letting the quiet pull of your soul drown out the noise of doubt. That shift was transformative. Small signs of divine favor appeared, a moment of serenity, an unexpected ally, a spark of momentum, signaling your alignment with a higher truth. There were no shortcuts, no applause, no easy validations. Yet somewhere in the shadows of perseverance, you were being refined. You began to realize that the trials weren't punishments, but invitations, opportunities to shed old versions of yourself, to release attachments that no longer served your soul's journey. You were being called not to conform, but to awaken. Every tear you cried in private was a seed planted in sacred ground. And though no one saw the roots breaking through the soil, heaven did. Then, in a moment of unspoken grace, you crossed a divine threshold. The universe, your higher power, or the sacred energy guiding you bore witness. No trumpet sounded, but the reward was undeniable. An inner light blossomed within, a deep certainty that you were on the right path. You felt it not in a loud revelation, but in a quiet knowing that silenced all doubt. Doors once locked began to open, opportunities aligned effortlessly, and your presence radiated a quiet power that captivated others. You didn't just pass a test, you emerged as a beacon of abundance and purpose. And now, standing at the edge of that transformation, a question lingers in the air. What hidden beliefs held you captive before this victory? Were they fears whispered into your childhood, the shame of not fitting in, the guilt of choosing authenticity over approval? As you reflect, know this: releasing those false identities is not weakness, it is sacred liberation. The more you surrender what is not truly yours, the more space you create for your divine self to rise. The second revelation in your spiritual awakening unveils the answer to the question lingering from your triumph. The hidden beliefs that once confined you were not truths, but fleeting illusions, fragile veils woven by your own mind. You once believed your greatest battles lay outside, a stinging rejection, a shattered dream, or a moment of betrayal. But the deeper truth is that these external events only gained power because they stirred unhealed wounds within. The real obstacle was never the world around you. It was the limiting beliefs you carried, stories etched into your heart by past hurts, societal expectations, or moments when you felt unworthy. A setback burned because it whispered you were destined to fail. A criticism lingered because it echoed a fear that your inner light was too faint to shine. This realization marks the dawn of your self-discovery, where personal growth begins by turning inward to confront these inner obstacles. These beliefs, subtle yet binding, became the lens through which you viewed your entire existence. You walked with chains invisible to the eye but heavy on the soul. You dimmed your brilliance to avoid unsettling others. You hesitated to speak your truth for fear it would be dismissed. And when life mirrored back pain or lack, you assumed it was proof that you were somehow inadequate. But these were not prophecies. They were echoes, resonances of old emotional wounds, not eternal laws. The voices of others, skeptics, naysayers, or even those who loved you, amplified these false beliefs, not out of spite, but because they reflected the doubts you hadn't yet released. When someone dismissed your ambitions or urged caution, their words landed heavily because a part of you believed them. These inner narratives, shaped by childhood lessons, cultural conditioning, or unhealed heartaches, convinced you that abundance was for others, that your instincts were unreliable, or that your dreams were too bold. Yet, their strength was an illusion, sustained only by your acceptance. Through self-reflection, perhaps in quiet moments of journaling, meditation, or honest introspection, you began to trace their origins. You saw how a teacher's harsh words or a parent's silence, how a moment of humiliation or a missed opportunity planted seeds of self-doubt. And in the quiet power of awareness, you chose to uproot them. This mindset transformation was not without resistance. As you questioned these limiting beliefs, fear clung to the familiar like ivy on old stone. It whispered that change was dangerous, that safely lay in silence, that it was better to remain small than risk being seen. Some around you, unsettled by your growth, tried to anchor you with doubt or guilt, not because they wished you harm, but because your evolution challenged their comfort. But you pressed on. The cost of staying asleep had become too great. With each layer of illusion peeled away, you reclaimed your inner truth. Your voice grew stronger. Your choices are clearer. The story of unworthiness faded like a distant echo. The barriers you once saw as immovable dissolved into nothingness. You no longer walked as a person seeking approval. You moved as someone who had remembered who they truly are. The world shifted not because it changed, but because you did. You stepped forward with courage, your path now clear and vibrant. Those who once questioned you could only marvel at your transformation, not because of chance, but because you conquered the greatest challenge, your own mind. And now, with clarity comes power. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that liberates. You no longer chase external validation, because you've become your own witness. You no longer fear being misunderstood, because you finally understand yourself. In this space, your soul breathes freely, no longer shackled by stories of limitation. With the illusions shattered, your potential unfolds like a boundless horizon, vast, luminous, and sacred. Divine blessings flow not because you begged for them, but because you made room for them by removing what was never truly you. You see now, the obstacle was never real. It was a shadow cast by the mind, a lesson wrapped in illusion, waiting to be seen for what it was. How did the universe orchestrate this journey to reveal your true strength? And now that the veil has lifted, what sacred mission has been waiting for the version of you who could finally see clearly? Dean, the third milestone in your spiritual awakening dawned as you released the limiting beliefs that once held you captive, unveiling a profound truth. Your life is not a series of random events, but a masterful symphony of divine purpose. Each challenge you faced, each moment of doubt you overcame, was a note in this cosmic composition, guiding you toward personal growth. You weren't merely navigating life's ups and downs. You were being sculpted by an unseen hand, refined through trials to embrace a higher calling. In those moments when you felt on the brink of breaking, when silence pressed in like stone and the world felt indifferent, the universe was not absent. It was watching, weaving a sacred design to elevate your soul to its fullest potential. These trials were no accidents. They were spiritual synchronicities, divine invitations to deepen your inner resilience. A rejection that stung was a redirection to a truer path. A delay that tested your patience was a lesson in trust, expanding your capacity for surrender. A betrayal that shattered your heart became the fire in which your courage was forged. To the unawakened eye, your life might have looked like a mess of missed chances and painful turns. But to the soul that sees with clarity, every thread of the tapestry was divinely placed. Like a sculptor chiseling stone, every disappointment, every tear, every decision to choose faith over despair carved away illusion, revealing the brilliance hidden within. You began to understand that nothing in your life was wasted. The heartbreaks, the delays, the dead ends, they were all sacred teachers, drawing out a version of you that could not be reached through ease alone. You learned to hear the whispers between the noise. You began to follow the signs that logic could not explain, a vivid dream that stirred your soul, a repeated number that spoke to your heart, a stranger's words that mirrored your silent prayers. These were not coincidences. They were celestial breadcrumbs, guiding you home to yourself. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, conceals its full blueprint, not to punish, but to protect. If you had seen the entirety of your destiny too soon, you might have clung to it in fear or tried to manipulate it out of alignment. But by veiling the path, the divine invited you to grow into your greatness, step by sacred step. You were never asked to be perfect, only to be present, only to trust. And in choosing that trust, in embracing your sacred path without knowing the final destination, you aligned with the creative force of life itself. Now, as clarity emerges like sunlight breaking through mist, the fragments of your journey align like stars in a constellation. What once felt disconnected now pulses with harmony. You see how your darkest nights were the womb of your light, how the loss that nearly broke you gave birth to your unshakable strength. You've become more than a survivor. You are a vessel of divine intelligence, a reflection of sacred design in motion. Your transformation doesn't end with you. It ripples outward. Your very presence now awakens those who are still walking in shadow. You speak not always with words, but with energy. You carry the resonance of someone who has seen the storm and chosen stillness, who has kissed the fire and emerged pure. And so you stand, no longer reaching, but receiving. No longer begging for worth, but embodying it. The universe is no longer something outside of you. It is alive within you, flowing through your choices, your visions, your healing. The sacred blueprint has revealed itself not through prophecy, but through transformation. And now, with spirit stretched wide and illusions dissolved, you are poised to become not just the seeker, but the answer, the fulfillment of the prayer you once whispered in the dark. What once seemed chaotic is now consecrated. What once looked broken is now blessed. What once felt empty is now radiant with divine design. How will you step into the blessings this alignment has unlocked for you? And how will your soul's rising illuminate the path for those still finding their way? The fourth milestone in your spiritual awakening dawns softly, like sunlight filtering through a long, darkened window. You feel it before you fully see it. A gentle shift, a rising warmth, the quiet certainty that something has changed. A spark of hope reignites. An unexpected ally offers support, or a vision you'd shelved finds new life, perfectly aligned with your soul's passion. You might question whether these moments are mere chance, but they are the first waves of a vast tide of divine blessings, flowing not from luck, but from alignment. Your soul finally attuned to the rhythm of the sacred. What once felt distant now arrives with grace. What once seemed impossible now unfolds with ease. As you stand rooted in the personal growth forged through trials, these gifts multiply with breathtaking force. A role appears that feels less like a job and more like a calling. A relationship blooms that doesn't ask you to shrink, but invites your full essence to shine. Creativity pours from you not as effort, but as overflow. Even those who once doubted you, who questioned your path or dismissed your dreams, now stand in awe, not of your success, but of your transformation. They feel it, the sacred energy that now radiates from your life, not loud or boastful, but undeniable. This cascade of divine favor is no accident. It's the fruit of your sacred becoming. Every time you said yes to healing instead of hiding, to love instead of bitterness, to vision instead of fear, you were sowing seeds in soil that the universe itself had sanctified. And now, in the perfect season, you reap. Yet this abundance, as beautiful as it is, may feel unfamiliar. After so many years of striving, surviving, hoping in silence, the sudden stillness of peace can stir unease. Can it be this easy now? Can this grace endure? This is your heart learning to receive. This is you standing still long enough for heaven to pour into your open hands. Not because you begged, not because you proved anything, but because you became someone who could carry it with reverence. These blessings are not merely material. They arrive cloaked in clarity, bathed in presence, wrapped in moments that feel like home. They are conversations that nourish, silence that heals, synchronicities that assure you, yes, this is real. The universe has been waiting, not to give you more, but to give you what you could finally hold without breaking. With abundance comes a deeper invitation, to walk with grace, not entitlement. Just as pain once built your courage, blessings now refine your humility. The light can be just as tempting as the darkness, if not more so. Success can lull you into forgetting the rituals that sustained you when no one was watching. Some will be drawn to your glow, not to walk with you, but to feed from you. And so, you are asked once again, not to retreat, but to root. Root in gratitude. Root in the sacred practices, the stillness, the whispers that called you home. Never forget the hands, seen and unseen, that lifted you in your most fragile hours. Let your blessings become a bridge, not because you're obligated, but because your soul now overflows. Let them spill gently into the lives of others, through your words, your compassion, your presence. Lift others not from guilt, but from fullness. This is divine reciprocity. This is the sacred circulation of grace, to receive deeply, to give wisely, to never hoard what was meant to move through you like living water. But even in blessing, stay watchful. Illusions do not vanish with struggle. They only change their disguise. Flattery can become a chain. Comfort can become a cage. Ease, if unchecked, can blur the edge of purpose. Protect your soul, not with fear, but with discernment. Let every gift refine your vision, not inflate your pride. You've crossed a sacred threshold, not into luxury, but into legacy. You are no longer called to prove your worth. You are called to embody it. This is your reward, your responsibility, and your offering to the world. Not all will understand your light, but those who need it will find it. They will recognize it, not by its shine, but by its depth. How will you honor this overflow? How will you protect the grace that now surrounds you? And how will you ensure your blessings remain sacred, not only to receive, but to multiply and illuminate others in the dark? The fifth milestone of your spiritual awakening unfolds as a cascade of divine blessings transforms your reality, ushering in opportunities, connections, and a radiant inner light that others cannot ignore. Where you once whispered desperate prayers for a breakthrough, you now walk in answered promises. Where you once stood at the edge of survival, you now move in sacred alignment. But with this new season comes a deeper challenge. Not just to receive the blessings, but to remain grounded within them. For abundance without anchoring can become a wave that lifts, but never roots. The joy of expansion is undeniable. New doors open, your voice reaches further, your presence inspires. But this growth also calls for deeper awareness. The higher you rise, the more essential it becomes to carry the weight of humility. You must remember, this elevation is not the reward of ego, but the result of surrender. Your journey, though marked by your courage, was never powered by will alone. The sacred forces, whether you call them the universe, God, source, or the ancestors, carved paths where none existed, whispered when you could no longer pray, and carried you when your feet faltered. This truth is your root. This remembrance is your protection. As your sacred energy shines brighter, it draws a spectrum of souls. Some approach with open hearts, aligned in purpose, drawn to the clarity of your light. Others come cloaked in admiration but carry empty vessels, hoping to drink without giving. Your discernment becomes sacred. Not judgment, but clarity. Not exclusion, but stewardship. You are not called to please all. You are called to protect the flame entrusted to you. Set boundaries not as walls, but as altars of self-respect. Let your yes be holy and your no be healing. Your energy is not infinite, it is sacred, and where it flows determines what grows. The allure of abundance can whisper subtle lies. You've arrived. You've done enough. You can rest in what you've built. But the soul knows. Awakening is not a destination. It is a river, alive, ever deepening. Each new level brings not only visibility but vulnerability. Every elevation requires realignment. New voices will seek to influence you. New pressures may try to mold you. And so you must return, again and again, to the silence that birthed your strength. In stillness, you remember who you are. In solitude, you hear the voice that first called your name. Stay rooted in gratitude, not as performance, but as posture. Begin each day not by counting achievements, but by honoring the miracle of presence. Your life is not a platform for applause. It is a sanctuary of authenticity. The world may celebrate your outer glow, but heaven sees the quiet integrity behind every decision, The moments you chose alignment over approval, truth over trend, soul over noise. And so, you become a steward, not just of blessings, but of wisdom. Share what you know, not from obligation, but from overflow. Teach, not to be seen, but to uplift. Let your journey become a compass for others who are still wandering in the fog. Through your grounded presence, you awaken light in those who have forgotten their own. This is a service. This is leadership. This is the divine embodiment. These blessings are not static trophies. They are living rivers, flowing through you, asking to be multiplied in impact. And as you honor their sacred movement, through generosity, awareness, and unwavering devotion, your world will expand beyond logic, beyond timelines, beyond any blueprint your past self could have imagined. You are no longer just rising. You are becoming the rise itself. Not a seeker of divine flow, but a channel of it. How will you protect the sanctity of your light? How will you stay grounded as your influence grows? And how will you channel this radiance, not only to elevate yourself, but to help others remember who they are? The 6th chapter of your spiritual awakening unfolds as you embrace the sacred power to sculpt a future that resonates with your highest potential. No longer guided by fear or bound by limitation, you now hold the brush and the canvas. You have become the artist of your destiny, and your palette is filled not with past regrets, but with divine possibility. Having rooted yourself in the flow of blessings, shaped by trials and tempered by humility, you now stand at the threshold of a creative awakening, one that calls you not just to dream, but to declare. This vision is not fantasy. It is a sacred dialogue between your soul and the universe. It begins in stillness, in those quiet spaces where your heart beats without armor and your spirit speaks without filters. Write your dreams down, not as wishes, but as promises. Speak them aloud, not as questions, but as affirmations. Share them with those who believe not only in you, but in the sacredness of your path. These acts are more than rituals. They are seeds sown into the field of divine timing. Each intention becomes a light, a beacon that summons alignment, resources, and souls who resonate with your call. As you forge ahead, trust the universe as your silent ally. It listens, it moves, it responds. Not always in the ways you expect, but always in the ways you need. You will find guidance in places you once overlooked. A passage in a book that pierces through confusion. A stranger whose words echo your silent prayers. A mentor whose wisdom feels strangely familiar, as if they were always meant to find you. These are not accidents. They are confirmations. Echoes of your soul's frequency returning to you in physical form. Yet, as your vision crystallizes, let it be cradled in humility. Power without presence becomes pride, and ambition without alignment leads to disconnection. Let your aspirations rise not from lack, but from overflow, not from the desire to be seen, but from the longing to serve. Anchor your dreams in the values you fought to reclaim: peace, truth, freedom, and love. The boundary between confidence and arrogance is thin, but your past has given you the compass: gratitude. Let it steady your steps. Your journey is more than personal. It is archetypal. Each bold step you take sends ripples through the collective. As you manifest your vision, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. Your courage becomes their mirror. Your rise becomes their map. And your story, when shared not to impress but to empower, becomes a lighthouse for those still lost in fog. A quiet conversation, a genuine smile, a vulnerable truth. These are vessels of spiritual transmission. You are not just building a future for yourself. You are laying bricks for generations to walk upon. Keep your heart tuned to the higher frequencies of purpose. Let your vision be vast enough to hold the dreams of others. Let it speak of unity, not competition. Let it restore what the world told you was too idealistic, too much, too soon. For the awakened soul, there is no such thing as too much. You were made to dream in color while others still see in black and white. You were made to stretch across timelines, to believe in what hasn't yet manifested, and to walk as if it already has. This act of creation is not a single spark. It is a living, breathing covenant with the divine. You are co-creating with eternity, so dare to see beyond the visible. Dare to believe that your highest timeline is not only possible, it is already reaching for you. How will you shape this vision into form? Not only to transform your own life, but to ignite courage, healing, and purpose in those whose lives your light will inevitably touch. Last but not least, the seventh beacon of your spiritual awakening shines brightly, yet not as a blinding light, but as a warm, steady glow that invites you to pause, breathe, and behold the sacred arc of your journey. You've climbed a mountain few could see, scaled peaks of pain and doubt with no guide but your inner knowing. And now, from this radiant summit, you turn to look back, not with regret, but with reverence. You remember the shadows, the nights you cried in silence, unsure if your voice mattered. The seasons where delay felt like abandonment and solitude pressed in like stone. You stood at the edge of despair, questioning whether the path was real or merely a dream. But even then, especially then, something deeper stirred. A spark, ancient and unyielding, whispered, "Keep going." That whisper became your compass, your prayer, your rebellion. You did not quit. And that, more than any external marker of success, is your victory. Now, in the light of your becoming, you understand what once eluded you. This journey was never about becoming someone else. It was about returning to who you've always been. The self that once trembled has become the self that leads. The fear that once held you hostage has become the fire that lights your way. And the doubt that once silenced your voice has become the rhythm of your authority, declaring with boldness, "I am enough. I am worthy. I am whole." This triumph is not one of ego. It is the gentle yet thunderous arrival of truth. You are not here by accident. Your path was no coincidence. The setbacks, the silence, the sacred detours were not punishments, but passages. Every delay was a divine pause. Every rejection is a recalibration. Every hardship is a rite of refinement. And every tear you shed watered the roots of your spiritual resilience. You were not just enduring, you were being entrusted. And now, having emerged from the crucible of awakening, your radiance is no longer hidden. Others feel it. They may not always understand it, but they sense it. The peace in your presence, the depth behind your gaze, the grace woven into your words. You are no longer just walking your path. You are the path, a living testimony that healing is possible, that truth can rise from trauma, that purpose can be born from pain. But even here, in the glow of fulfillment, your soul knows the journey continues. Triumph is not a finish line, it is a gateway, a threshold into deeper service, wider impact, and greater accountability. New allies will appear. New realms of growth will open. Your calling will expand, not through striving, but through surrender. Not through seeking more, but through being more. Present, grounded, and aligned. And yes, temptations will come. Praise may try to replace purpose. Comfort may try to silence growth. But you are not who you were. You are now a sentinel of light, equipped with discernment, anchored in gratitude, and protected by truth. You recognize the illusion when it smiles too sweetly. You no longer chase validation because you remember who sent you, and that remembrance is your shield. So now, chosen one, the question is not, will you shine? You already are. The question is, how will you carry this light forward? Will you share it with those still trapped in shadow? Will you lift the weary, ignite the dormant, and mirror to others what they have forgotten in themselves? With gratitude as your compass and purpose as your path, you move forward, not chasing dreams, but embodying them. Not asking the world for permission, but giving the world permission to awaken through your example. You are not the echo, you are the voice. You are not the follower, you are the flame. This is your moment, your legacy, your sacred continuation. And so you walk, brighter, wiser, softer, stronger. Not because everything became easy, but because you became eternal. Chosen one, your spiritual awakening has unfolded like a sacred symphony. Each note forged in silence, each crescendo born of struggle. You have walked through valleys of uncertainty, climbed unseen mountains of doubt, and emerged not only standing, but shining. What once felt like chaos has revealed itself as sacred design. What once broke you, built you. What once confused you, anointed you. With gratitude as your compass, you've shattered illusions that once bound your spirit. You have alchemized pain into wisdom, fear into faith, and silence into song. Your life now hums with a quiet power, not loud, not boastful, but steady, magnetic, undeniable. You have not only healed, you have become a vessel of healing. You have not only awakened, you are awakening others through your very being. The world will still test you. Shadows will still stretch across your path. But you now walk with a deeper knowing. You no longer search for the light, you are the light. Your journey is not about perfection, it is about presence. And in that presence the divine moves. So live. Live each moment with sacred intention. Speak not to impress, but to inspire. Walk not to arrive, but to illuminate. Let your joy be rebellion. Let your kindness be contagious. Let your courage be a map for those still wandering. Your ripple of truth will touch souls you may never meet. Your healing will plant seeds in futures you may never see. But trust this, the universe watches, records, remembers. Nothing born of love is ever wasted. This is not the end. This is the beginning of your becoming. The eternal journey is yours now, limitless, luminous, and unfolding with every sacred step. The page is blank, the light is green, the stars are listening. Shine on, lead gently, love fiercely, and never forget, you were chosen for such a time as this. Chosen one, thank you for embracing this spiritual awakening with unwavering inner strength. May your eternal journey overflow with gratitude and inner peace. Your divine purpose shines, transforming lives through your personal growth. Share your light boldly, for you were destined to illuminate the universe. Keep radiating hope, today and always. If this message resonated with your soul, we invite you to share your reflections in the comments below. Your voice may be the very spark someone else needs to continue their journey. Share this video with those who walk the path of awakening, and let your light ripple outward. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel to receive more messages that nourish your spirit and remind you of who you truly are. Together, we rise, anchored in purpose, guided by truth, and united by light.